and founder of the Doe Fund. Thank you for joining us. I think you've been following what's happening, so you know we have 8 minutes, and we'll give you a 2-minute warning before the end of that, and then we'll do follow-up.
I hope I don't have feedback. Is it all right? So I'm excited to be here. Thank you very much. I think that libraries are a very important part of the future of what I believe is the underlying issue that affects all of us. And I come at it from a different way. But first, let me tell you that when I was a young man, my mother and father were divorced when I was born, and then my mother died when she was 13. When I was 13. That's one. I get 3 of those. So I wasn't from a wealthy family, and I went to the library. I used the library, and I actually read biographies. I loved reading biographies about great American men and women, and that's really why I'm here today, is because I picked the things that people did that were good and paid attention to the things that people did that were bad and tried to emulate the good things and stay away from the bad things. How am I doing? So I run the Doe Fund. I founded the Doe Fund some 25 years ago or so. I went to Grand Central Terminal. A woman died of malnutrition. And as a citizen, I couldn't understand how in the richest city, in the richest country in the world, somebody could actually starve to death. When I went there, I found about 1,500 homeless people living in and around just Grand Central Terminal. And I started feeding them at 10 o'clock at night. And I did that for 700 nights in a row. And that was before I met my wife 25 years ago. I had no social life. Imagine every night being at Grand Central Terminal at 10 o'clock. I got arrested 4 times for doing it because they thought I was attracting people from Ohio for a bologna sandwich. Seriously, they did. Repetitive stress injury to my cuffs to my wrists from the handcuffs. But in any event, I listened to what they said, and they wanted to work, they wanted a room, but they were in circumstances where they couldn't do that. So Ed Koch was mayor then, and I was a pain in his posterior because I was an advocate for the homeless, and he said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want to be able to put people to work." They gave me a contract to renovate vacant city-owned apartments and using formerly homeless men from the shelter system. And we started January 1st, 1990, and we went out, and the first day we were an immediate success because the people, basically, the shorthand is that they gave up drugs and they picked up work, and they wanted a hand up rather than a hand out. And now all these years later, we've done $750 million in revenue. We do $50 million a year, have 1,000 people in our care, have 500 employees, 70% of whom are graduates of the program. We have facilities in 4 of the 5 boroughs, and all of those facilities have libraries in them. And we have a unique lending library experience. We say, take the book and keep it. And take it to your home with you when you have the home and the job, which our graduates do. A third of the young men who come into our program between the ages of 18 and 24, a third of them read below the 5th grade level. So we have literacy programs in all of it. The failure of our educational process in New York City is what I deal with every day and have for the past 25 years. Now, I am a proponent of doing something other than arresting people because I deal with the people who have been arrested and incarcerated and come home from prison. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, these are not hoodlums or criminals, or these are our sons and daughters of New York City. When they come home, they don't have an opportunity to get a job because they have a criminal record. And they get that criminal record when they're 16, 17 years old. And it just goes on and on and on. So that's what we do. We overcome that. We introduce them, we have a program that requires personal responsibility and not doing drugs. And we have 400 to 500 employers that have been employing our folks now, and they're wonderful employees. I believe that the city of New York now needs to invest in these high crime areas where all of the stop and frisks are going on, what they're talking about. Yeah, we have to get underneath what the police are doing and what are we doing as a society. These, you know, the people don't want to commit crimes, and the police aren't there for any other reason than it is a high crime area. But why is it a high crime area? Because we haven't educated the children. We haven't provided opportunity for them. I believe that the schools and the libraries are community resources that should be available basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if we have made all of this investment in the luxury of our city, I think it's time that we made the investment at the bottom. Now, I'm the only one in this race that talks about helping the poor people. You'll hear people come and say middle class 92 times in a minute and a half. And that's their message, middle class, middle class, middle class, middle class. We won't have any middle class in New York City if we continue to go on the way that we're going. So helping the people at the bottom is the most critical thing that we can do. And the way to do that, first, is through education. And a critical part of education is reading and literacy in our library system. So to answer all of your questions, yes, no, and maybe. You know, I wouldn't give waivers. I want to see more librarians. I want to see more libraries. I want to see the libraries become community resources. I mean, we need places in these high crime areas all over the city, but see the concentration, because that's what's going to make our city the shining city on the hill. We are so close to it. We really are. You go to Central Park or Prospect Park, any one of these parks on a Sunday afternoon, you have peace and love. You do. You have people from 220 different countries all walking around, smiling at each other, giving directions to each other. And then we have this other city that we've ignored, that we haven't educated, that we haven't provided opportunity for. And that's what I want to do. And there's nothing more critical to me as mayor than investing in the library system and the school system associated with that. I'm sorry that the time is so short, but